We go on our climate focus series. This time around, we are focusing on vulnerable groups, women and children, and it's going on live right now.
You to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where we're bringing you yet another edition of our Climate Talk series happening in partnership with the German mission here in Accra. The last time you all saw us, we were in the Western region. We're talking about the sustainability of mobility going into the future. We're focusing on the rail sector. That's what we did in the Western region. But for this time round, we're focusing on the impact of climate change on vulnerable groups, specifically women and children. And we're doing this as part of that collective action on both the side of government, of civil society, of our international partners, thanks to the German mission here in Accra, and also for those of us in the media, doing this collectively as part of our actionable strategies towards meeting our nationally determined contributions when it comes to climate change. And that's why we're all excited to be coming to you here at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, where many of you are watching us from. And we will be having yet another insightful conversation, actually segmented into two areas. First of all, assessing vulnerability and also resilience of women and children, and also focusing on the second part, which has got to do with the severity of climate-related risks to children's health. All of that will be discussed here today in the latest of our series on Climate Talk series. And once again, we must show appreciation to the Federal Republic of Germany for always supporting this good cause. Ever since we started, we've been around the country, so many places, having insightful conversations on climate action. And this is the point at which I want to entreat all of you in the hall this morning with a round of applause to welcome the representative of the Deputy Ambassador of the German Embassy here to give us a statement. We'll hear from them shortly, but of course, when you get to any institution, of course, you ought to be welcomed. And that's why, first off, we have to hear from the medical director here at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, please, with a round of applause, help me welcome Dr. Frank Owusu-Sechere. Doc, you're welcome. Probably you want to, yes, use the microphone with you, yes. Yeah, so we're all yours now. We're home. We feel at home already, but just reassure us before we continue with the event today.
Well, I think you've made my job very easy. You are reassured. I guess I can walk out, yes. On behalf of the board and my CEO and the entire management of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, we want to welcome you to our facility. And the topic that has been chosen is something very topical. Nobody ignores the effect of climate change any longer. We don't have to look far. You probably just have to see social media, see the screens. And then the issue of flooding is all too familiar. We, in this part of the world, has been spared the hurricanes and the rest, but of course we see it out there. Fires are also on the increase. And then heat stroke, we are in November, and if you go to the north, it's very terrible. And so these are things that affect not only people out there, but those of us here as well. And as a pediatrician, I'm very familiar with the effect of all these pollution on the children, especially when it comes to those with asthma, chronic obstructive airway disease. And I think almost always the children are battling one respiratory tract infection or the other. All of these have been attributable to the climate change. We also know the effects of the indirect effect of flooding on the family setting. And here, the women are always bearing the brunt. They have to look at what you're going to feed themselves as well as the children and the psychological trauma that it comes with. So I think it is a very good topic that we have chosen. And then we hope that at the end of it, we are going to be wiser, we are going to be more educated, and then we will do what we can in our own small way to curb the menace of pollution, improve the climatic change. Thank you.
Please, one more time for Dr. Frank Owusu-Sechere. And Doc will be staying around later on. Of course, he would make some interventions as we go on because we're helping each other out. He's made my work so easy for me. So I just have to proceed to say that, in fact, that there's a replete of research out there pointing out to the impact of climate on women and other marginalized groups. And that's why we want to have this conversation. So those of you who are watching us at home, feel free to send in some concerns. You have so many experts in the hall here. I feel intimidated a bit, but of course today I'll graduate as a medical officer by the end of the day. So Dr. Frank Owusu Secretary has agreed to be supporting me here and there with some of the questions. But I'll introduce to you shortly those who are also helping us to break all of the issues down. And that is what we'll be doing in the next few minutes. But we can't do this without once more acknowledging the support that we're enjoying strongly from the German mission here in Accra. And I want to bring up stage Mrs. Hajara Guba, who is the Foreign Climate Policy Officer of the German Embassy here in Accra. Please, a round of applause for her. And Hajara has been our partner in crime. We've been across the country. The last time we were in the Western region, so it's good to see you. And I should be saying Akwaba to you this time around. Why climate talks, and also what we're focusing on for today, women and children. Why is it so necessary in this whole climate action?
Yeah, thank you very much, Blessed. First, let me proceed with protocol first, then I answer that question. Yes, so Dr. Frank Owusu Secretary, Medical Director for Kolebu, representative from the Ghana Health Ministry. We also have representative from the General Asamoah Foundation and representative from UNICEF. And importantly, the representative or the president and her people from the Pediatric Society of Ghana. Representatives from the medical sector, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. So as Blessed said, some of you already have heard about climate talks. For some of you too, this is the first time. So let me tell you what climate talks, the German Embassy JoyNews climate talks is about. So this climate talks is just a platform to create awareness, preferably to increase because the awareness is there, but how are people more aware of? So we want to increase the awareness of climate change and also provide a better understanding for people, local communities to understand what is going on, and particularly the nationally determined contributions of Ghana, which is due this year, not just Ghana, but the whole country, to be submitted to the UNFCCC. And as we know, COP30 is happening this year. So that is why the German Embassy, as part of our initiative to increase awareness, we brought about this project. So why is it important? Because Ghana's green transition is guided by its revised nationally determined contributions. And this also is in line with Germany's climate foreign policy, because our foreign climate policy promotes renewable energy, green jobs, resilient health system, and sustainable development. And all these are found within Ghana's NDCs. So we have also identified that the private sector is going to play a critical role if Ghana should transition to a green state. Why so? Because the private sector, they play an important role by unlocking substantial investment and innovation, addressing the financial and implementation gaps that exist in achieving our nationally determined contributions. As we have heard, climate change has affected the world, but unfortunately some people are more affected than others, and these are the marginalized group, particularly women and children. So the link between climate change and health for some time was debated, but now has been clearly established. Children are particularly susceptible to the health and social consequences of climate change. As Blessed has said, research has shown that almost 2 billion children worldwide are exposed to one or more climate-related risks, and approximately 8 million of these children are born with defects globally. Out of these 8 million, 94% of these severe cases occur in developing countries, and our beloved country, Ghana, is one of these countries. So we believe that by investing in health system, Ghana stands well prepared to address climate change by strengthening its infrastructure, enhancing emergency preparedness, and building capacity of our health workers who are at the front line of this crisis we are facing. A resilient health sector will help vulnerable groups adapt to a better climate change. So as we are here today, we are focusing on the impact of climate change on women and children. For this, our experts are here to help us understand, to help policymakers know what they can take into considerations. And I would like to extend my gratitude to JoyNews for the partnership of our climate talk throughout, also to the General Asamoah Foundation for making time to join us today, because I know your time in Ghana is very limited, so we are very appreciative of taking time off. And also to Dr. Hilda and her community for making this possible. We are very grateful. Please enjoy the section.
Thank you, Blessed. A round of applause for Hajara. She's done so much to keep this running, and we applaud the German people for making that possible. Now we know that what we're doing is not just for us, it's for the fate of over 2 billion children worldwide, and that's why this conversation is very important. In fact, we're segmenting this into two aspects. We're first of all doing the assessment, and then later on you're hearing some names. You're hearing, for instance, about the Gerald Asamoah Foundation. What do they do? How are they supporting? And what inputs are they making? So far. We'll get to hear that story later on, but let's do the assessment first by setting the ball rolling. I'm going to be mentioning a few more names for you, and when you hear these names, all I want you to do is to help me with a round of applause to welcome them as we assess the issues. First off is Dr. Chermatin Amoah. He's from UNICEF. A round of applause as we welcome him upstage. Dr. Chermatin, thank you for spending time with us this morning. Also, my good brother, Tony Goodman, is here from the Ministry of Health. He is the spokesperson, but now I understand he's a bigger man. So please give it up some more for him. Hilda Manteboy. She is with the Pediatric Society of Ghana. So this will be the first set for our conversation, and then you get to hear more about the inspiring stories of how, for instance, the Gerald Asamoah Foundation has been supporting climate action. We'll get into all of that and more, but for now I want us to do an assessment so we know where we are and why we need to meet our NCDs. NDC, I should say, the Nationally Determined Contributions. Yes, right. Okay, that's correct. Not the NDC, but you know, that's just by the way. Okay, so let's get into it now, because I have gentlemen and a lady with us. Ladies first, they say, so it's in order to just hear from Dr. Manteboy, who would give us Mantebia, sorry, I keep mixing that up, to just give us an assessment of, what the status of mostly women and children are when we speak of climate change. Because very often some say it's far-fetched, it's remote, this is not connected in any way to women and children. But reports and research is backing what our fears have been, that women and children are at risk of climate change. Help us shape that story, Doctor.
All right, thank you very much. A lot of the speeches that have been given already by Dr. Owusu-Sechere and Mrs. Hajara Guba have all alluded to some of the things that I will say. We have all seen floods lately in places where we did not even expect flooding to be, for many reasons, but including climate change. We have seen places where we expected rainfall and we are not getting rainfall, and because of that, the food supply becomes a problem. The prices of food becomes very expensive. I think about a few weeks ago, plantain, you could buy just one finger of plantain for 10 cedis, 20 cedis, which was like really outrageous. And as it stands, even when the commodity or the good gets in season, the prices don't really want to come down. So that is, in a way, an indirect effect of the climate change that we are seeing. And again, with the flooding, so if you have a mother and a child, a family, and because of this flooding, they become displaced, that's a big problem. What it also means is that it can affect the schooling of the child. The child may miss some days of school, opportunity to learn and do well. the mother herself may not be able to work, opportunity to earn an income is lost. The sanitation, where they will sleep, then the vulnerabilities for gender-based violence. This alone can cause the spouse or partner to become upset, frustrated, and then the fighting, the beating, and all that can also begin. So I could go on and on and on, but it has both direct and indirect effects, and we can all somehow relate to some of these things.
Now we are coming to terms with the fact that indeed science is backing that link between the impact of climate on women and children. But I'm just curious, who's more at risk, the children or the women?
If you ask me, I'll say the children, and the children because they are children. Their bodies are not that developed or that matured. Their immune system is not well developed to be able to fight infections. Physically, they are smaller, so their ability to even run when necessary, they may not be able to do. The effects of the heat on them, if there's a heat stroke, not getting food and all becomes a very big problem, and they have their whole lifetime. So if you have a child who is about, let's say, 2 years now, the child has, like, let's say 50, 60, 70 years to experience the effects of the climate change or the pollution or whatever it is. But if you have an adult who is a woman, she will have fewer years. But then again, women also do have their risks, some of which I've mentioned already. And we've seen some pregnant women here today, so they also, the immune system may not be functioning as well as if they were not in their pregnant state. Again, if you look at them physically, if there's anything happening, the ability to run, get help, may not be like somebody who is not gravid. Again, they also have, or we also have, a lot of responsibilities, caring for ourselves, caring for our families, aside the work that women do in the corporate world or wherever, trading. They also have many other responsibilities at home, including caring for their children. And so they also are very vulnerable. If they are not unable to work, they will not be able to find money to care for themselves and their families. If because of the climate change, water is a problem, how will their home be cleaned? It becomes a very big problem. The bathroom will be dirty, risk of infections will go down. How will they get water to cook for their family? How will they get food to buy for their family? Because it can cause shortages of food.
Interesting. But if you're in the hall with us this morning, don't worry. The opportunity will be provided in the course of the program, so we're able to find out a bit more from Dr. Hilda and the team up here. I'll come to Tony shortly on policy, because that will be critical in addressing all of this. But what's interesting about the work of Dr. Tremating is that you have a fund, and in fact you work with the global body, UN, around the world, and you have, insights as to what's happening, for instance, in the case of Ghana. How are we faring and how are we adapting to all of these risks that Dr. Hilda has been speaking about?
Yeah, thank you very much. So the vulnerabilities are there, which she's mentioned, and if you go across the country, we know the particular vulnerabilities of our regions. We know that the upper part of our countries, the northern part, have issues with water scarcity, with drought, with increasing temperatures. Temperatures can go as high as about 42 degrees Celsius, which is very high, and that predisposes people to heat-related issues. And then you come to the middle part where, flooding, I must say flooding even cuts across. Then you come to the down south where we have a lot of flooding. Recently we had high rains that caused our only major dam to, be full and had to be spilled. So Ghana has its own vulnerabilities, but I must say that over the time, this conversation has gained thrust, and just as the earlier speakers introduced, we now even revising our NDCs, which is now at the 3, trying to see how we can reduce emissions, carbon emissions, trying to see how we can build resilient structures, trying to see how we can incorporate this into the curricula. I must say that now we know that at least for the primary and junior high, there is some good information on climate in our schools. So now children are learning, and there are so many other things that are being done. However, we are still far from, the optimal. And UNICEF has been partnered with government in most of these areas. One of the things we've done concerning children, because they're also vulnerable, and yet they have a voice, and as part of the strategy, we should hear the voices of children, is to support this national drawing competition. So this is where we ask school children, draw what you think about climate change. Draw what you think about the effect of climate change. What does climate change look for you as, maybe a primary 6 child? And very interesting drawings, children drawing how trees have been cut down, how, fishes are dying. And, it stimulates our minds to know that though they are young, they appreciate, the causes and the impact of climate change. And these are being put together, and it will be even sent to COP30 to show how children are being involved, and so many other things we are doing in this space.
Yeah, and you should be sending one of the copies to Tony.
It's here to cause
so he's able to see that. Yeah, but just to put on record that the nationally determined contributions is not something that's been forced on us. These are our own, sets of aspirations that we've put together. What's your assessment of it? How we're going about it? Do we need to do more? Are we, doing a lot more when it comes to marginalized groups, women and children? What's your own assessment, Dr. Chermatek? Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So. It's not being forced on us. I think we went to the COP, and we've done negotiations, and the country has adopted this. And as far as I know, the country is adopting a multi-stakeholder inclusion and trying to address issues of social inclusion, bringing everyone on board. I know that the NDC 3, talks about climate and gender-related risks and social inclusion, where we want to bring on board everyone, the marginalized, children, people with peculiar disabilities, pregnant women, and all these people who would have issues. And it cuts across, there are some on energy, green spaces, and all that. I must say that it looks good if we are able to commit as a country and join hands with partners and actually implement what we've put out in NDC 3. I think Ghana should go up, including gaining some funds from green climate exchanges, where we can contribute positively to reducing the carbon emissions in the country. So I think, if we commit to it, Ghana will do well in terms of its adaptation and mitigation of climate risks.
I see. Interesting. Now to policy. How can we address this? What's the ministry doing about it? And does the ministry even hold a view in the first place that women and children are facing the risk that all the experts are talking about? Tony, let's get into that. Apart from the Ministry of Finance or issues of finance, funding and all of that, I dare say that the Ministry of Health carries a lot of the burden when it comes to achieving the SDGs. And that's why I'm glad that you're here. So talk to us about how you're mapping it out, what kind of strategies you're adopting in terms of policy to tackle this.
Thank you very much, my brother. When it comes to climate change, obviously, the buck stops with the Ministry of Health. This is so because you definitely have issues of some infectious diseases coming on board. You would definitely have children with some respiratory system issues here and there. So what we have done currently as a ministry is to create what we call sentinel centers across the country. In the past, we were just picking diseases, picking some outbreaks and dealing with them. But currently, because we have agreed and we know that we have actually created what we are currently dealing with, the best for us is to have the centers detect these diseases before they come out. So we have about 36 centers across the country currently dealing with that. If you look at recent issues in the University of Ghana, where we have some outbreak of COVID again, it was that center that picked it up. We recently had this flooding issue in Agaveji, Amutinu, Salakopa, in the Volta region as a result of issues in climate change. And in
fact, just to state that we were there as well, and we had the complaints.
It was women and children who were severely hit. Women were not able to take care of their kids. women, you know, that particular environment, you have a lot of women taking care of their homes. So when that happened, they find it very difficult taking care of their homes. We went there to actually screen. I remember Joy FM was there. And clearly you have diseases you have not seen before in a very long time now coming on board as a result of climate change. So as a ministry, we have a preparedness plan to deal with some emergence of some diseases as a result of climate change. You remember when we had issues of Ebola in elsewhere, we had a national preparedness plan, we have epidemiologists ready, we have surveillance, contact tracing ready to deal with it. During that period, we realized that even though we're trying to prevent Ebola from entering Ghana, we're rather seeing things that were not actually on the radar. Just recently, we had this COVID-19 also. We were trying to deal with COVID, and then you have various variants of COVID as a result of what we have done to the society. In recent times, in the past, when you go to the northern region around this period to April, you know that you are expecting meningitis. But now, even before April, before November, you have meningitis, not only in the northern region, but some part of the country. How do we deal with them? That is why policies have actually come on board to actually, I'm sure you are seeing rains recently. You are expecting some dry season, but you have rains. So climate change has affected health delivery. It has changed our policy. We have now moved away from what we're looking at in the past, and now workers, health workers are facing the blind. Because you go to work, you are expecting some number of persons to appear, but unfortunately you have increase in numbers. And I know my colleague nurses will tell you, you go to work and you're overwhelmed by what you see. That is why this center is picking up the diseases before they get to facilities.
Right, so this center that you've created, is there any dedicated fund addressing climate issues or climate-related risks that may, I mean, for instance, that Dr. Hilda pointed out earlier? Are you doing some targeted funding? Are you planning anything like that?
Yeah, thank you. We're currently doing this with WHO and then Noguchi. There is a dedicated source of funding for that. We've done the 36. Currently, we want to scale it up across the country. If you don't have that, you may not know what you are dealing with. If you don't have that, it will be difficult for you to streamline your policies to deal with what is coming up. So yes, we have dedicated source of funding. Okay.
What I want to hear now is from Dr. Hilda, the point about the effective strategies for us to adopt, because you work more in the space, you know the lived experiences of these women and children. How do you feel we can effectively tackle that, some of the risks? For instance, you take a look at the north, the heat wave we are all expecting. Dr. Chermating has told us about that. Some strategies to adapt, at least, if not in the immediate term, short term, so that people can avoid all of these risks.
Okay, so I'd say that we need to consider education. I'm looking at a bit of the prevention as well, because some of it is difficult to reverse at this point. So to prevent the worsening of what we are seeing now, education. Everybody should be aware that climate change is a thing and it's not a figment of someone's imagination. Yes, so it's a thing. And we should all know about the little things that we do to make it worse or bring it on, and things we can do to make things better. Then the other thing is that people need to be aware of their own health statuses. So are you well? Do you have this chronic illness? Do you have this? So people should go to hospital a bit more frequently to check themselves, know where they are, so that if there are any chronic illnesses or any underlying illnesses, they can be catered for before it gets complicated. Then there should also be good access to water, clean water. Now this is a big issue, not just in some rural areas, but even in Accra. So the country needs to really look at this so that we can guarantee that families have access to clean water, safe water that people can use to clean in the home, drink, and also use for cleaning. Then for food, with the pollution going on and all, there is food contamination. We are aware there have been several studies that have been done and reported. So that's another key area that we need to look at, because there too, it affects the women and children even more. The men are not left out, but the women and children, and especially the children, are the ones who are worst hit. So we really need to look at the agricultural sector, look at the areas that are affected by pollution, look at the areas that are good, how can we salvage, and how can we make food safe for our children to eat, and also affordable, because you also don't want a situation whereby you have the food available, but families cannot afford it.
Right. Doc, you just wanted to chip in something.
I want to chip in something concerning what UNICEF has been doing, some interventions, piloting. So in the Upper East region, in OT and here in Greater Accra region, one of the key things we are doing together with Ghana Health Service, and building on what Dr. Boy said, is educating our pregnant women. I mean, traditionally, if you go to antenatal clinic and our mothers are here, they say eat well, keep good health. But the impact of climate on your health and on the baby, that has really not been mainstream. As one of the things we are piloting the Upper East OT and here in the Greater Accra region is to work with the Ghana Health to incorporate this into your antenatal clinic. So when you go, the health worker is him or herself educated, putting this as part of health worker education, so the health worker knows, what to say, the key messages to tell the women that, maybe it's sunny and you need to go out to town to buy things. You should do this during the cool part of the day. So either you go very early in the morning or late in the evening. You don't wait and go like 12, o'clock when the sun is raging high before you step into the sun. Hydration is a big thing that even for non-pregnant people, we don't really take much water. But now we are seeing that increasing heat will cause dehydration. When it does for the pregnant woman, it's going to reduce the fluid, the amniotic fluid that the baby is in, and it's going to trigger so many other complications like preterm, like stillbirth, and other deformities that the baby may have. So this is what we've started doing, and I think it's one of the strategies. Yeah. If nationwide, this can be incorporated in all antenatal clinics so that mothers know. One other thing is we've had instances where, unfortunately, there have been reports of pregnant women or people trying to access care drowning in the middle belt because the floods had come up, and either they didn't have good early warning systems to alert them that maybe flood will be coming. Maybe we don't have good telemedicine systems where I don't need to come to you, the midwife. I can call you. There could be virtual communication. Say, okay, this is how I feel. Do A, B, C, D, or we can dispatch, care to you on the island. Blessed, we have a lot of island communities in Ghana. And when you talk about climate change, these are vulnerable communities. And this is what we're trying to do, improve our early warning systems, ensure that, women have the messaging. They don't need to access care when the terrain is not safe. Otherwise, you're going to drown. And so these are part of the things that and very, very simple things people can do at home. Stay in the shade, take in more hydration, and be safe.
I perfectly agree. I think the theme I hear from the two of you has got to do with education, which means that, and Doc, probably you want to share that with me. How difficult or otherwise is it trying to explain to, say, a pregnant woman or people in remote communities, children, the impact of climate on their health? I think it's something that's a challenge from what I'm hearing from both of you.
I wouldn't say that it's difficult for people to understand that there's climate change. I think that we have not prioritized that information sharing as a country. And if you open your radio, or you put on your radio, you put on your television in the morning, peak time, you're more likely to hear a lot of political talk rather than some education that the people will benefit a lot from. So as a country, we really need to prioritize our television, radio, our media, because if you want to have a change in the community, the behavior, you start from there. You condition the people, you send the information that you want them to to have. So we can do a bit more of that. And no matter how difficult information is, there's always a way to break it down once you understand what the information is for people to understand. And now there's evidence also that it is happening. It's not abstract. It's not something that people can struggle to understand. Then just a little bit to add to what he said. So if we say that previously, some years ago, there was this, what people were selling water in bowls on their head, or like buckets on their heads. Those who are so young that they don't know, there was an era like that in Ghana some years ago. That was the norm, and people were using plastic cups which they were using to fetch the water. If you're buying porridge, you're going to get a calabash which the porridge will be poured into. Now somehow we said it was unhygienic and have moved to single-use plastic, which has risk, microplastics, which all have risk, and then the pollution again. So instead of, let's say, buying that bottle and discarding it anyhow, or buying the rubber, why don't you just carry your water bottle along? Or instead of using that bottle once, reuse it. So, and all this is information that we need to be aware of. Right here in the hospital, if you have a clinic and you have a number of mothers or people come to sit waiting, by the time the clinic has ended, the amount of rubbish that people would have left there will amaze you. Meanwhile, there would be a bin very close to them. And it's all over. Accra, we're seeing it. If you go to Kumasi, it's the same thing. In the major cities, you're seeing the same problem. So it means that we are not doing well as a people in terms of educating the people about the harmful effects, and all these can also contribute to climate change. So I think that it is part of the solution, but as a country, we need to strategize and see how we can send the right information to the population to make the choices that will save our environment.
At least we should be saying thank you to the German Embassy for making that. Please, a round of applause
Thank
for
you.
the German Embassy for supporting us and making that possible. Tony, the issue of education, why are we not focusing so much on that?
I thought we were going to talk about Joy FM, because you were mentioned, the media was mentioned. And
Guilty as charged.
you decided to just run away and then come to Tony. Yes, but let me add that most of the districts, we have health information units in various districts. Their work is to go to the homes and educate. It will be difficult for them to know exactly what they are picking out from on radio. So we have dedicated that aspect of risk and social mobilization purposely for that. That is why under the free primary health care, the policy is currently looking at how do we educate the people, how do we dedicate funding purposely for that, preventive health care. Going to go into the homes, map up the usual CHIPS zones, map up the area, have the various community nurses go to these areas and send the information there. We package the information clearly and then decided that this week, this is what we want to send out there, and then we do that under the free primary health care, which is going to be launched recently. We've also noticed that when it comes to education, it is actually hindered by old held some beliefs. So people believe that this is how we've been doing it over the years, and you can't tell us. Even my grandfather, this is how my grandfather lived. There are a lot of reports and research that actually made us to understand that people's belief impede most of the things we've done in the past. When it comes to pregnant women, you know clearly that what you are doing will affect the baby. But for the fact that you have done over the years, like using mud to wrap your tummy here and there, if you go to NICU, you realize that we have a lot of respiratory issues with our babies because of the long-held views. Your mother will tell you that this is how I was brought up, this is how I went through it, so you have to also do that. We have a lot of issues with what do we call diabetes. We have a lot of issues with our kidneys here and there. And then His Excellency the President saw this and also decided to introduce the Mahama Cares. You know, we have spent a lot on ourselves. We have not actually contributed to what we are seeing. We've not contributed to the change in climate. We've not contributed to what is happening. But at the end of the day, the money we get, the resources we get, half will have to go back into taking care of us. Unfortunately, issues of climate change is expensive. If you have any issue when it comes to dialysis issues, you know how much you need to pay. If it comes to diabetes issue, you know how much you have to pay. And we have cardiac issues, you know how much you have to pay. That is why His Excellency has dedicated the Ghana Medical Trust Fund to take care of Ghanaians if you have issues of this nature.
All right. There's a critical aspect that I want us to touch on even before we take a break. That's about misinformation and disinformation. Dr. Chermatin, you want to help us with that? Because, people have long-held beliefs. How do we correct that narrative? How do we change it? How do we, get people to appreciate what's happening?
Right, yeah. So before I even get to that and building up on what Tony said, it's important to also establish that the education will not be starting from a clean slate, as in zero. There are good indigenous knowledge in our communities. If you go down the rural communities, people know. For example, we're up in the north and, in the high heat, and our mothers are here. If you are home and it's very hot and you have children, growing up, they will catch you and pour some cool water on you. I mean, they will give you a bath. That is with us. We know this, right? So I think that in addressing and couching our key messaging and educating our people, we should, build upon these indigenous knowledge. Why does the mother give the child, a shower in the afternoon when it is hot? Because she knows it will cool the body, because it will help the child. And they do that. So I think our communities have knowledge that has been passed on. Of course, some may not be too accurate, so now with new evidence, we need to shift it. But, like you said, there are long-held beliefs. Some even think this climate thing is a hoax. It's not there. But again, if you go to the community and you ask them, for example, when people were expecting rains not to come, the rains came. Many lost their crops. I mean, they grow their corn and it doesn't, yield. So they themselves can give you first-hand information that we know things are changing. What can we do? And so I think it is a lot of community engagement, building upon their indigenous knowledge and then dispelling the myths and showing them the evidence. Doing it with their stakeholders, with their community leaders, the opinion leaders to get the buy-in. And if with the engagement that we've made, community members are sharing these things. And if this is one of you telling, the team that this is what is happening, and even health workers. So I think that, we can build upon this bridge and, yes, dispel the misinformation and build upon what people know and then, bring on the good information.
You know what? This is just the start of it. We have another aspect of the conversation to explore. But please help me show appreciation to these individuals for helping us with the first part of our conversation. Next, we'll be looking at the severity of climate-related risks to children's health. I will be focusing on all of these aspects for you shortly. But what I want us to do now is to, just calm down a bit and enjoy a great performance from Snow. He'll give us a musical interlude. And when we get back from the break, we then look at the severity of the issues and others. Stay with us. This is Climate Talks on the JoyNews channel. We're at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. It's not too late if you want to join us here in the hall, but you can do that. And you can also get to send us your comments if you're watching us at home. We'll be right back, and Snow will take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. All right, so my name is Black Snow, and today I'll be speaking on the effect of climate change on vulnerable groups, women and children. But before I do my performance, I've been sponsored. So after performing, I'll ask a question. Whoever gets it right will walk away with this. Deal or no deal? Deal or no deal? All right, then I'm going to keep it here. Right here, yeah. And I have with me, oh God, I have with me a sign language and she will be helping us to interpret for our friends and families who are not able to understand. All right. All right, so I'm waiting for my sound. Let me roll. All right, give me a second. Slow music. Wow. It's been a hell of a ride. According to Carbon Brief, climate change is still on the rise. With 1 Celsius increase in temperature, and it's way more severe in Africa. Cause we they cut down trees, we they bend down bush, doing things that destroys the zone layer. Eventually it affects the vulnerable. Over 2 billion children are suffering from climate change, do you know? The land know the bare food, hunger the rise, malnutrition affecting the children. Is this what we live for? Are these the future leaders we they count on? It's high time we need to make some change. Let's move, cause it's a bumpy road, bumpy road. Fighting for our children, fighting for our soul. We want some changes, we need some changes. We want some changes now. We do. It's a bumpy road, bumpy road. Fighting for our children, fighting for our soul. We want some changes, we need some changes. We want some changes now. We do. Once upon a time, there lived a pregnant woman called Esther Usu. Esther, you be a oye jangwe juma, mitras is supposed to hit. Esther, kwa waswa, yesen the bano wenya respiratory disease. I can't get Esther training bar or because of climate change. Let's be mindful. Over 8 million children are born with birth defects all because of climate change. It can happen to you, it can happen to me, it can happen to anyone as well. So let's put measures in place. It's hard time we need to change our part. Let's limit the cutting down of trees, let's move. Cause it's a bumpy road, bumpy road. Join me, let's sing. Fighting for our children, fighting for our soul. Let's go, we need some changes. We want some changes. We need some changes now. We do. It's a bumpy road, bumpy road. Fighting for our children, fighting for our soul. We want some changes. We need some changes. One more time. We want some changes now. We do. It's a bumpy road, bumpy road. Oh, fighting for our children, our soul. Let's go. We want some changes. We need some changes. We want some changes now. We do. Thank you so much. So that's it. So to my question section. What are some solutions that we can put in place to make sure climate change does not affect our vulnerable groups, especially the children? One way to me. Hey, it's only fast to. Okay. They are saying the event is purposely meant for vulnerable groups, so I should go for the lady. Are we fair? Okay. But okay, show some love for her. She has some packages. Wow, that's beautiful. So I saw your hands first. Okay, you go. All right. Yeah, you can.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So last year, my group and I at NEJ Global Foundation had a project at one school in Kwabena MA, and it was climate experience where we bridged the gap between climate change and the children's ability to understand them with art. And we realized that when children are able to draw, when children are able to visualize, when children are able to express their feelings about the issues of climate change, they're able to relate to it better. They're able to connect to it and act. So my solution is we need to bring about policies, bring about more of these challenges Dr. Tre was speaking about, for children to engage in climate change challenges, drawing about the issues going on in the country. They can also be essay writing competitions for them to engage in, so that they'll be able to understand the issues of climate change.
All right,
thank you very much.
Some love for him. That's beautiful. All right, Mommy, I also saw your hands. Thank you. So I think due to time, I'll just give it to him right away. That's for you. Yeah, Mommy, I'm listening.
All right, thank you for the opportunity given. So for me, I think that the question has been answered several times. So education, and more education at every level, during our pregnancy schools, at the antenatal, and then breaking the myth that climate change is not just like somebody's opinion, imagination, or the person is just thinking aloud, but it is something that is affecting us, and everybody must get involved. Although I'm a woman person, I feel that in our part of the world, decisions are made by men. So in the education, we have to involve the men, let them know that if this is the amount of money you are giving for your wife for this kind of meal, we have to get all the nutrients that we need in this particular meal to make sure that we will live healthy. So I think that education, more education at all levels, in churches, in schools.
All right,
in
that's great. That's great. Let's show some love for her. All right, then there we go. Thank you. Hey. Okay, so this one you are supposed to share with me the effect of climate change on the children.
Thank you very much. I happen to teach climate change and contemporary issues in Accra School of Hygiene. And so I'm so familiar with it both practically and on the theory sense. And what happens is that we did a research recently at the landfill sites in Accra, particularly, and what we did was that we were particularly looking at air pollution, and we have had interesting findings we are yet to publish from this research. And when we went to these landfill sites, we realized that the scavengers had their children all around at these various landfill sites, and these are people who are directly exposed to the emissions from the landfill sites. And I realized that this is very great, that if you should go there to demonstrate in terms of video, in terms of sketches, then the children will be able to learn, like your song. Put all these things in songs. Children can pick these things. That rather than writing and all that, they will not be able to establish that contact. But if you're able to put them into videos, into songs, they can be able to learn from that.
That's
Thank
beautiful. You. Hey, okay, there's a hand here too as well.
So the effect is that we
hey.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so she should be the last one due to our time. Hey, Semo.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Just the two of you.
All
Okay,
right.
then we are done.
So
Okay.
Yeah, quick
so
one.
Please,
Quick
the
one.
effects, like burning in our environment. Every house is burning something. Rubbish, a lot of things, which causes harm. Respiratory diseases everywhere, left, right, center. And then because of the burning activities, you try to like plant something around that place. And then the thing will come out different, like tomatoes. First you grow tomatoes. When it comes natural on its own, it comes red and other stuff. But now you grow it and the color changes. Because of that, they do it in tomatoes and decided to add color. When the color is not that coloring, they cook and add color. And it's giving us more effects. We are dying from it. Children are being infected.
Okay, thank you. So that's for you. Thank you too. So, to the pregnant woman. Okay, she's here. One pregnant woman, then she gets it. Okay.
She can't use the fire she's using due to one or two things or due to the harm. So I wanted to ask, we pregnant women or we mothers, can't we work with the fire due to the respiratory system or the respiratory disease? So I want to ask, so if you are pregnant, you can't work?
You can work, but don't risk your health.
So you shouldn't go closer to the fire or you shouldn't do anything that goes on with fire?
Excess. Or we can shift to the gas system.
Maybe I don't have gas. I use the local one, like charcoal, firewood, and other things. What should I do?
That's true. That's why we have the policymakers here. They will give us the solution before we leave. Thank you so much. And
So, Elliot, just to add up, you also did a song. So that was our first event in Jamestown. He had a song for that. We're focusing on clean cooking. So the continuous use of firewood is not good for your health. Not necessarily a gas. If you have the funds for a gas, yes. But we have a Japan and other coal pots that are modernizing. You can use briquettes. They have briquettes. These are made from biomasses, not necessarily wood. So these are more healthier because they do not produce smoke and stuff, and they also last long. So kindly look into the options of clean cooking. Thank you.
Okay, please, a round of applause for Snow. And Snow, thank you. I thought it was going to be a break, but it appears that there's so much interest that many of you are still even asking so many questions that I believe some of our experts will be able to touch on. But probably I'll put some of the concerns you have from the mother, for instance, to Dr. Hilda and Dr. Chermatin for them to address that a bit. But you're welcome back. We are still doing the climate talks. If you're watching us on the JoyNews channel, we're coming to you from Kolebu Teaching Hospital. We're just looking at the impact of climate change on women and children. You've had some lived experiences, just living off from that parent who is concerned about the smoke, right? We'll get into that because there's a need for us to look at the severity of climate-related risks to children's health, general well-being, and some other heart issues as well. Which is why I'm really excited that you were talking about the respiratory issues earlier on during our break. It's not a break, it's turning out to be so interesting. But there's one guest who is also joining the panel just to add her voice, and they've been leaving the impact. If we're talking about impact, the Gerard Asamoah Foundation, they've supported so many facilities across the country. And I'm so delighted to be welcoming now Dr. Katia Pauli, who's joining us as well to just share a bit about the foundation, what they've been doing so far, and also looking at the risk and how they are mitigating that. Good morning to you, Doc, and a pleasure to meet you again.
Thank you.
How is Ghana treating you, by the way?
Very well, thank you.
Yes, and we're grateful that your foundation, or through the foundation, you're impacting many lives. But talk to us about many who may not even know about the foundation in the first place. What do you do at the Gerard Asamoah Foundation?
Okay, well, I am a pediatric cardiologist, and I work, normally I work as a cardiologist in Germany, and we work in association with the Gerard Asamoah Foundation to bring a little bit of hope to some children, or more hope than there is already, to some children with heart disease who do not have access to that sort of treatment here.
How's the experience been like, having dealt with many cases of children?
It's mixed, because of course you see things that you do not see in Europe anymore. You see the children who are diagnosed late, that are things that maybe my students will read in books but will never see in real life. You see that here. So, but then again, it's such a beautiful experience because surely it is a drop of water in a huge sea of maybe problems, but it is that one person that you did help, and once the children are better, they look at you and the family is so thankful. So it is a beautiful feeling for everybody of us to help.
Right. So let's get into the aspects of education now, because I see that's been a concern for many upstage before you join the conversation. How do we ensure, general well-being, reducing that risk of the severity of climate change and its impact on women and children?
That's a very difficult question. There are studies that have shown, I'm talking about the cardiologist's view, because I guess the general health, that is a very, very, very huge issue. But for a cardiologist, there are some climate changes that are associated with a higher risk of congenital heart disease. Yes, there is, especially high temperatures. That is one point, and the other one is the marginalization of the people who then do not have access to health services, so the diseases are not detected in time, and that is why you see them here in Kolebu so late. It's the marginalization of the people who are being displaced from places where there might be health services already in place, and all of a sudden something happens, a flood, and all of a sudden they're displaced and they don't have access to those health services anymore. And so detection.
Generally, are there some, pieces of advice that you give to women, especially parents? We just had one of the concerns, for instance. In such cases, what do you recommend, what do you entreat parents to do in terms of keeping the children safe then, I believe?
That is a question for me as a pediatrician, better than as a cardiologist. Yeah. I think most of that has been answered, to keeping them safe, keeping them contact with sanitation, clean water, washing hands. Those are basic issues that are so well known but very badly implemented. And so, again, education. So kudos for the lady. She is very, very right. Because sometimes it's the simple things that are missing. What is simpler than clean water? It's the basic needs that need to be taken care of: water, sanitation, education, and build from there. Because if somebody is hungry, they will not care that much if it's plastic or if it's biomaterial. They are hungry. The basic need is the food. It does not matter what it's packed in. If that is taken care of, then you can think about the other things. So, what do I tell my patients? Well, take care of your children, take them to school, go to the doctor if something is do not go just if it hurts. If the doctor told you to come in for checkup, go for checkup. It's not, they did not make up this story that you need to. It's not because, most doctors do not do that because of money. They want you to be healthy. And if you're asking a child to come in every 6 months for a checkup, it's not a game. There is a reason why you want them to be checked. And especially for children with heart disease, this is very, very important, because there is a time window where you can treat them, and then where the treatment is not possible anymore. And that is exactly during those checkups where you determine the point where they can be treated with surgery or with other methods. And
And speaking of heart disease, is there any case where, or report backing, how climate is impacting such conditions?
Actually, yes. I was a little bit surprised because, I did not know that I had to be part of this panel, and I actually did a little research. And yes, there are studies that show heat waves and maternal exposition to high temperatures for the incidence of heart defects, especially VSDs, which is a heart defect of holes in the heart, and tetralogy of Fallot, there are increased. So yes, I actually was a little bit surprised to see these data, but there is actually data confirming this, that there are more cases with these. So yes, you do need to take care of the pregnant women to be not to be exposed to these kind of things.
I think it's a good time for Dr. Hilda to take the question that the parent was asking. I don't know if you want to make any interventions on that. She's saying how much, I mean, how do they first of all move away from the smoke? I mean, what alternatives should they use? And what's been the impact? I think that's a question, if I get a question right. Yeah, to you.
Okay, so I think Hajara gave some answers, but also to add that the air pollutants are also going to predispose or increase your risk of having birth defects, including the congenital heart diseases that she has mentioned. And what they can do is to cause a disruption in the fetal development process, and your baby may end up having congenital heart disease. They could have cleft lip, cleft palate, the neural tube defects. That's like those who are born with like a hump at the back. I don't know if some of the mothers have seen pictures of that before, but those are all possibilities. So the general advice that she has given, that you should take good care of yourself even before you get pregnant. Pregnancy is a long journey. The decision to get pregnant is also a decision that needs to be made. So before you get pregnant, you need to plan your pregnancy, ensure that you are in the best state of health. You are not drinking, you are not taking a lot of alcohol, you are not exposed to these harmful gases and in a bad environment that will predispose your baby to developing some of these congenital defects that we are talking about. So let's do all we can to stay away from pollution.
Dr. Chiramartin, you want to add anything briefly? Then I open the floor briefly.
Yes. So I think sometimes the difficulty is the pregnant woman trying to appreciate how the smoke she's breathed in goes all the way to the baby. You know, it's not intuitive. And rightly so, because you can't see and you can't follow the smoke into your belly. But now we are seeing that, and even science, you know, many years ago we didn't think air pollution had issues with cardiovascular system. But now we know that there are little tiny particles that actually go past the lungs and even goes into your bloodstream. It goes into the bloodstream. Once they enter your bloodstream and the baby depends on you, whatever is in your bloodstream, the baby do have a share in that. So that is why we are said. And secondly, traditionally, I mean, growing up, they will ask you to light fire, and you are going to use some paper or some rubber, anything, and they ask you blow. You are blowing into it, and there's smoke. This is how we grew up. But now we know better. And we say that when you know better, you do better. So then now, let us look for safer ways, like Ajara said, and limit our exposure to some of these traditional. But before we go, let me share some statistics that are out there. This is one meta-analysis. That means, you know, a lot of studies have been done that shows that the risk of stillbirth, you give birth and the baby is already dead, increases by 5% per every 1% rise in temperature. You know, this is a lot of studies that have been done across many places from UNICEF website. So the evidence is there, the statistics are there, and even when you're giving birth now, breast milk, again from the dehydration, you can't produce much. So it really goes on, and it goes to address or even underpin why women and children are the most vulnerable in this case.
All right. I'll give the last word to Tony shortly, but I want to open the floor. Probably there are some more questions, concerns, brief remarks. We take them, we just go through very briefly, and then we call it a wrap then. So if you have any concerns or perhaps you want to make any statement, I see there's a gentleman in front here. We give the microphone to him, and then I'll come back up stage. But make sure that you introduce yourself each time you're speaking. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Prince Duya, the current president for University of Ghana Medical Student Association. And I'm very happy to be here. This talk has been very informative and very educative. Over the past few months, we partook of a community work, and we realized that one thing that really affects this community is lack of knowledge. They grew up in an environment where they believe some things are normal, example, using robbers to act as a source of fuel, and also living in very poor demographic environment. Now, speaking to some of them, we observed that some of them has been wired in such a way they now believe this is the right thing to do. Now, I want to find out from Dr. Chere, you made mention of early method we can put in place, and Dr. Tony also made mention of these centers at the... Dr. Goodman. Okay.
Please, GTech is watching us. Yeah.
So Mr. Tony Goodman made mention of centers that has been put in place. I want to find out how do we, as a university or university body, also join hands to help educate these people, to make them know that the knowledge they have is not the right thing to do. How do we enforce it? Because you can't go there as students. What are some of the measures you can put in place as university students to join hands to help protect these vulnerable people, women and children? Thank you very much.
Thank you too. Any more takers, please? Okay, yes, we have a number of hands up. Yeah, right. Kindly introduce yourself.
I'm Anastasia Ephraim, a lecturer at NMTC Kolebu. And I'm also engaging in a research on heat stress on vulnerable groups. And my study is on street vendors. And among them, we have a lot of pregnant women, children, who are also suffering from the impact of heat stress as a result of climate change. And I also believe that based on my analysis and my results, a lot of education need to be given. Even if we realize that when they go to the antenatal, the nurses, the public health nurses, have less information to give them. So we need to do a lot on the education. Thank you.
Thank you. Just pass it to your right, because there's someone to your right. Yes.
Thank you once again. My name is Abigail Abnesiama, a well-woman care nurse specialist in this department. So my question is directed to Tony as from Ministry of Health. There have been diverse changes in the antenatal booklet for our pregnant women. So in this time and age that we are talking about climate change and all that, they believe in what they see and appreciate it more. So if there can be a sector in the book in the next probably revision, so that we place it at that portion, and then that one, every antenatal clinician or midwife will have the opportunity to give it, because if you say it now, it just goes away. And then to him again, if, and then to you from Joy FM, if there are catchy programs on social media that, like Dr. Boyce said, can be at least any morning programs, you tune in and it's like, oh, stop burning, stop doing this, stop doing that. I remember when I was a kid, you put on the TV and then you see all these things. But today, it looks like politics has dominated every aspect of our lives, and then it looks like that is the brand, that is the market. So if they talk about the politics, they'll get some more people. Thank you very much.
Okay. Tony will remind me to answer you, so I know, I know for sure. Anyway, let's take some more. Then I'll get to him, so he, they'll respond to the questions. Yes, there's a lady from behind. Yes. Okay.
I'm Messi from Child Health. May I know whether the traditional leaders within the various communities have been empowered on these climate change issues, because they are the mouthpiece of the community and they really obey them. So I will respectfully ask that the traditional leaders in the various communities should also be involved in the talk of climate change and to go far.
I recall for almost all the communities we went to, in fact, for the Volta region, the case that Tony was talking about, a lot of the chiefs were there. So we always involve them. Almost every forum that we've had, I think we've had traditional leaders there as well. So they are also a part of the action. And maybe when you go as well, you help spread the news that we want, climate action to be giving some more urgency. Do we have some more tickets tonight? Just spread this around the panel. Yes.
So I'm Comfort from Accra School of Hygiene. And then this question goes directly to Mr. Tony, because we were mentioning nurses, and then we are environmental health officers. So my question is, what are the opportunities that exist for environmental health officers to influence policy at the local, the national, and the international levels? Because I keep hearing nurses, and then we are environmental health officers, and then we are included in policy making. So I want to know our roles, and then why aren't we part of policies, decisions that will be made for the country? Thank you.
Thank you. And they are from the Accra School of Hygiene, I believe. Thank you for joining the conversation as well. Yes, there's
Thank you very much. I am coming to Joy FM or Joy News. You do a lot of research and you do a lot of public interventions, and you are going to go into the community. The research I mentioned, there's a part where you are going to take the students and educate those people who live around the dam sites about all these findings that we have had. What would Joy FM do in partnering with us to be able to engage the communities better and people get to know these interesting findings? Thank you.
Thank you so much. At least, thanks to the German embassy, we've been across the country. Just last month, I think we're in the Western region. So we've been to, we've been to a number of places, and we hope that it will continue. So that's my response to you. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dr. Harding. I'm a psychiatrist at the Department of Psychiatry here in Kolebu. And I'd just like to remind us, I've heard a bit about all that has been said, that we shouldn't forget about mental health. Climate change has an effect on mental health, particularly in women and children, because if it affects livelihood, it's also going to lead to more mental health challenges like depression, PTSD, especially after traumatic events like floods and fires and all of that. So just as a reminder, it's usually the last thing at the end of the day, but I'd just like to remind that it should come forward, and we should also have a seat at the table so that we don't forget about these things. And then 2 years, 3 years, 5 years down the line, then they come and sit in my clinic, and I'm like, I sat in this program. So just to remind you.
In fact, you know what? I'm creating the table before you in the presence of your enemies. So please go ahead and talk to us about how, there's that link between mental health and climate change.
So because climate change affects livelihood, people are losing their sources of funding, their work, they are losing their children. We heard about stillbirths. These things can lead to things like maternal depression. Maternal depression can then lead to problems in the fetus or in the developing child. And then when the child comes out, we tend to see more behavioral problems in children, problems in school, learning, problems with autism, attention problems. And then if you look at the wider family setting, a mother who's depressed, it means she cannot care for her children. She cannot provide food for her children because she's not working. And then she's in the larger community, she's not able to contribute. So these are things that we need to look at.
In the immediate term, policy-wise, are you on the lookout for anything climate and mental health related?
Personally, I'm hoping that in the education bits for our mothers, we need to remember that when we look at antenatal services, so someone mentioned the book, it should be something that should be part of the book. I was recently pregnant about a year ago. I had no education on mental health while I was attending antenatal services. So I hope that these mental health services or challenges that a woman can experience should be forefront in our books so that we know that these are things that can happen and we should be on the lookout for. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for coming too. Please, a round of applause there. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. For the sake of time, we'll just do about 2 more and then we can then proceed. So I see 2 hands up. You'll be the last 2. I'll start from the one right in front of me. Kindly introduce yourself and then we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Fatih Abdul Hamid and then I'm at orthopedic unit. Mine will start with the, even as we are having this program, the biases here, with the language barrier especially. And then the sign language, I only realized that it's only the other guy who used the lady. And then the language, how are we even sure that whatever we are talking about here, some of them understand? Yes, I think that is what maybe the next program we can put in place. And then my other issue is, I think a little contribution. When our president was coming in the advert with the 24-hour economy, I was so happy with that, especially because of these issues. In Ghana, in our setting, we are all supposed to work, especially with the female. That is how we see ourselves. So with the 24-hour economy, the nurses, we are already doing it. But with the child health and then the antenatal, can we do something like we will come, those people, especially from where they are doing the road, they are constructing the roads. Instead of coming during the daytime, can they come in the evening? At that time, we all know the dust and everything will be done. So if we can do that one, and then in a country that I've been to where they have the higher temperatures, especially in Saudi Arabia, women and kids always come out at night. I go out after 7. And the shops are open for us to shop. If we can do that,
all right. Okay, thank you so much. We'll do the, yeah, right. But just to point out that for the local languages, I mean, when we go into the communities, we're able to translate. So for instance, the Western region that we went to, it was done partly in Ahanta, there was Fanti, and then we're doing English as well. So it depends on the community that we go to. I think largely most of you in the hall can understand me, right? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Please,
yes.
I'm Celestina Wuja from Child Health and Nurse. Please, my question is about the pollution, etc. Please, education, fine. But please, at a community that they don't have a gutter, no dustbin, and we are educating, do not bend, don't do this, don't do that. Please, what are they to do?
Yeah, I get your point. Thank you so much. Well, a round of applause to you yourselves for asking all of these thought-provoking questions. So this is what I want us to do. I want us to wrap up. So I'll give the final word to everyone and then give the last word to Tony because there are so many questions for you. But by the time you're done with the exams, you'll be a doctor finally. I'm sure you'll be a doctor, I'm telling you. GTech won't have any problems with the other one. So I think I should start with you, Dr. Pauli, if you have any concluding remarks, any final words to share with us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for having us at the hospital. And, if there are any questions, if we can help with the Gerald Asamoah Foundation, we'll be there for questions or whatever you need. Thank you.
Dr. Hilda?
Just want to use this opportunity to say a very big thank you to the German Embassy for this partnership and then to JoyNews as well. We are really grateful for the opportunity. And I think there were a number of comments about partnering and all. We are big on education. Abigail Isiama, yes. Abigail Hardy, and all. So we are happy to, and we work with the
and I
media
know that
you
don't like politics too.
Oh, well, you see, healthcare is also politics, so I'm a politician. Maybe very soon I'll become the president of Ghana.
Hallelujah.
Anyway, so, yeah, so climate change is here, and we all have a role to play as citizens, as healthcare professionals. We have a responsibility to educate ourselves and to be able to educate the general public. The government has a big role to play. The infrastructure needs to be there. The enforcement of the sanitation laws and all that are also really critical, because there are some people who know the right thing but will not do it. And if we want to modify behavior, the punitive measures are important. The reward systems are also important. So to end, I'll say that there are a lot of possibilities, but if we want to see Ghana as an advanced country in the next 50 years, it's not going to take a lot of talking and meeting to talk about what we talked about, but it's going to take a lot of action, which we all need to take a part of and hold each other accountable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let me do Dr. Chairman. Before I do.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to add my voice to thank the German Embassy and the Foundation Joy and all of us for making this happen. I'm happy that the conversation is going out there. As we've heard, and I'm happy dear pregnant women are here, that women and children are the most vulnerable. If you need to do something in town, don't go out when it is so hot. And hydration. Take a lot of water as you can. Protect the young ones also. Children usually don't like to drink water. So unless they are thirsty. So, encourage them to take the water, encourage them to do that. And let us work on building early warning systems. I'm happy that the Ministry of Health is working towards that. There are a few questions that came, and one of the things I want to add is that I think this is a good engagement for our university students to share. I know they also do community service. Social media is one big tool that knows no boundaries now. So I think for our youth, this can be a good place to push out there. When we're growing up, we watch Captain Planet. It sensitized us that we let us save our planet. I think we should have modern productions of that teaches our young people. Someone talk about videos and music. Let us incorporate them into the arts, into what the children want, so that they grow up with this consciousness and build resilient healthcare systems. We didn't talk much about even educational infrastructure. How resilient is our educational infrastructure, to withstand, all these shocks in climate. I think that if we commit to the NDCs 3 together as partners and government, I think we can reach far. Thank you very much.
Okay, grateful. And now to you, Tony, I'll give you the last take.
Thank you very much. The first question came from the president of the Medical Students Association. You're a big man. Yes, how do we collaborate with you to do education, especially on the Sentinel Center? Let's just bring some proposal. Let's see how we can. But otherwise, we partner with various bodies, like what we are currently doing with Joy FM. We partner with various stakeholders to actually educate our people. So please come on board. More importantly, as we have this influenza-like in the system currently, let's come on board. Let's educate people around us. Let's tell them what is happening. From now to December, I'm sure we're going to have that. Please, if you are not well, just rush to the nearby hospital. Let them check you. Let's find out what is wrong with you. Don't self-medicate. We have picked that. It was the same center that picked all of these things for us, and we have been doing some public education. Let's educate the nurses. Yes, I think we will do that. Fortunately, the head of health training institutions in Ghana, and I will try as much as possible to see how best we can incorporate this into our programs as part of our seminars we'll be having. We'll bring various persons who have knowledge in this field to share with our nurses. Because I believe that we must catch them young. The training must start from the school. Because immediately you are out there, you start working. Our training is such that from clinicals you are working, from other areas you are doing your rotation. My dear sister mentioned that, why am I not talking about the environmental health nurses? You are my staff, you are my student. If you go to your school, they will tell you the innovations we are bringing on board. And I can tell you that the various programs you are running in your schools, if we are actually made aware of them, I'm sure most of us will go to the School of Hygiene to study a lot of programs there. They have a lot of programs, but the environment has come late. is actually in the boardroom late. So we are not interested until it affects us one way or the other. This room, the quality of audience we have, I'm sure when we leave here, let's all be ambassadors of the environment. Let's be ambassadors of climate change. Let's talk about it. It's affecting all of us one way or the other, but we may not know. In the handbook, yes, I agree with you. I will go, I'm sure currently there is some review. I'm sure it will take place next year. We'll push it so that we have something. The pictures, yes, the pictures must appear there for us to know. Because when I heard that the smoke in our kitchen also affect us more, I was just here imagining my grandmother. She would never listen. That I have been doing this for how many years now? You that came this recent, I want to tell me that this is... So it's going to be difficult for us to change the long-held views and beliefs, but all of us, it's incumbent on us to do this. The other thing, which traditional leaders, yes, I can tell you that the CHIPS compound is structured in a way that the traditional leader must be part of it. I remember we went to Ethiopia. When we went there, they said, oh, we learned this from Ghana. We, from Ghana, went to study again. They came from Ghana, picked this thing, and we went there. They took us to a village where a CHIPS compound was. And then we asked, who is the leader of this CHIPS compound? It's not the health worker, but rather the chief in that community. That is how our CHIPS program is actually structured. But the traditional leaders, at times, they're overwhelmed with land issues and other issues, so they don't actually. But all of us must let them know that if all of us will have to be healthy, it comes from you. Your responsibility is to take care of us. Yes, I remember when we had this flood in North Town and then Salakopa Mitiwa Gavaji. What came strongly was, how do we get psychological need for these people? Because if you go there, you were there, it wasn't a joke. People, at least if you are talking to the person, but he or she is not there, far away thinking about how much he or she has lost, how he's going to actually make the next meal. So mental health is also critical in this going forward. And I thank you for letting us get this. Okay. The local language, this is the basis. So when we live here, all of us come from various communities. We use our local language to disseminate this information. This is the basis for all of us. This is how we are all taught in school. So this, if you go, try as much as possible to educate the people in your community. 24-hour mother and child. Yes, I'm sure you hear Ghana Health Service has mentioned recently that they have begun the 24-hour economy in their hospitals. There is a desk dedicated actually for this. If it's not happening here, we'll try and see how best we can. Because I have rushed a patient, a mother here, to the maternal emergency, and then everybody was sleeping at the time. So I'm sure we must, at least, that 24 economy start with us. As you have said, it's supposed to be happening in the hospital. What has happened? Maybe we need to come round. The honorable minister's unannounced visit must happen in the night, so that if you are sleeping and you see the minister, you'll be confused. So definitely we'll come around and check whether people are working or sleeping. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
On that note, yes, please give it up for them. I think it's been a worthwhile exercise looking at the impact of climate change on vulnerable groups. It's just so sad that we need to go off air now, but we say a big thank you to Tony Goodman from the Ministry of Health, Dr. Chamating from UNICEF, and Dr. Hilda Mantibia from the Pediatric Society of Ghana. Also to you, Dr. Pauli from the Gerald Asamoah Foundation, for sharing your great insights with us. And to you in the audience for making this a successful program. My name is Blessed Ogai, and of course we're handing over back to the studio because there's a lot of events happening today, including the National Science and Maths Quiz. So if your school is actually competing today, then we say good luck to you and may the best school win. Afterwards, we'll talk about the others. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.